Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd was at it again on Sunday, using his platform on Meet the Press to attack President Donald Trump and his White House staff. Toward the end of his interview with White House trade advisor Peter Navarro, Todd mentioned a Washington Post story that said Chief of Staff John Kelly was considering quitting and asked for a comment. Big mistake. Chuck Todd blindsided Peter Navarro, who was on the show, to discuss the trade war with China that is developing. Todd read an excerpt from the Post story that said, "Kelly has threatened to resign on multiple occasions. It's sort of a weekly event," one senior White House official quipped, though officials explained his declarations as expressions of momentary frustration. Todd followed it by asking, "Have you heard of John Kelly threatening to resign, Mr. Navarro, and can you say whether the president still has confidence in him?" If Todd thought that he was going to shake Navarro, he was gravely mistaken. The advisor shot back with the brutal truth. "Every day of his adult life, John Kelly's gotten up in the morning to serve America," Navarro said. "He's a great man, a courageous man. He serves the president, he has the president's ear, he runs the West Wing well. That's all I know, that's all I see. He has the confidence of the president," Navarro said. "He's getting the job done, and when you read stuff in the Washington Post, frankly, that's fake news most of the time." That comment ruffled the feathers of Todd, who got visibly angry and fired back at Navarro. "I think that expression is a pretty unfair thing to say about a major news organization," Todd said. "That's a cheap shot." Todd tried to cut it off there, but Navarro was not about to be bullied by Sleepy Eyes Todd. "Mr. Todd, that is not a cheap shot," Navarro fired back. "Because if you look at the newspapers that I read every day across the spectrum, the Washington Post, in my judgment, tends to attack the president more than any other newspaper in its news stories. You can do anything you want in your editorials, sir, but you cannot do that in your news stories." Desperate, Chuck Todd found a way to bring Russia into the conversation to help defend his position. The term fake news is not exactly a way to hold up the First Amendment, especially when the Russian government, just this morning, is using that phrase, Todd said. The news that Chuck Todd was talking about was the Russian government claiming that reports of a chemical attack by the Syrian government on the people in eastern Ghouta that killed 35 people were fake news. But President Donald Trump, who Democrats love to claim is in bed with the Russians, smashed Russian President Vladimir Putin on Sunday and vowed that there would be a big price to pay for the attack. Many dead, including women and children, in mindless chemical attack in Syria. Area of atrocity is in lockdown and encircled by Syrian Army, making it completely inaccessible to outside world. President Putin, Russia and Iran are responsible for backing Animal Assad. Big price, Trump tweeted. President Donald Trump went on to blame former President Barack Obama for not doing anything the first time that Syria crossed what he called a red line and used chemical weapons on its people. If President Obama had crossed his stated red line in the sand, the Syrian disaster would have ended long ago. Animal Assad would have been history, Trump wrote. This marks the harshest criticism that the president has had for Putin since taking office. But the question is, will the mainstream media report it? If they do, it will ruin their narrative that President Trump refuses to criticize Putin, but if they don't, they would miss a major story, and that would make them the fake news that the president says they are.